There's a chair there behind that.
That's Scott or Jeff.
I didn't know he was coming. I asked him if I was, if we were in. You call. Yes.
So you're okay.
There's a chair on up here. There's a chair up here. Is there another out there? You're live?
Yep.
We'll call the March 18th, Lockheed City Council order, please rise to hold the silence followed by the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Alexander. Here. Councilmember Brannan. Here. Councilmember Brinker.
Here.
Councilmember Conklin.
Here.
Councilmember Missouri. Here. Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Mayor Long.
Here. Approval of minutes from the March 4th, 24 regular meeting.
I move approval. I'll second.
Motion floor and a second. Any questions or comments? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander. Yep. Councilmember Brannan. Yep. Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri. Yes. Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. For public comments and requests, comments from residents and city taxpayers. Before we get going on this, it's something that we are addressing on the agenda. Could you wait till we hit that on the agenda, please? There are, that way we're not going through it 2 and 3 times. We're dealing with it at that time. Does anyone have anything that's not to do with that? Please state your name and where you live.
My name is Bill Stankwitz. I live on Bellefonte Avenue in the 4th ward of the city of Lock Haven. I need to address misconceptions that have arisen resulting in the petition I submitted to city council for the erection of the same 3 crosses that city council voted unanimously to approve last year has come to my attention. The petition submitted for this year was again for 3 crosses. Insurance to be covered by the Swarthdale United Methodist Church and therefore their lay pastor, Richard Wallace, to conduct prayer opportunities during Holy Week and a sunrise service on Easter morning, period. I personally, individually requested the Christian flag to be flown under the American flag for the month of April as in recognition of Faith Month. Richard Wallace and the Swarthdale Church were never to be included or associated with any part of that request. When I inquired about the availability of the space below the American flag during that month, I was told that it was not otherwise occupied. I was also told that I did not need to make a separate petition for the flag. During discussion on the floor about the 2 aspects of the petition, Mayor Long asked council members if the 2 items should be separated, at which time Councilman Stevenson indicated they should be kept together. The petition was approved 4-2 by council. I had no idea that this action would have resulted in the way in which it has. I submit to you, my intention was not to tie Richard Wallace or the Swarthdale Church in any way to the Christian flag request of the petition. Their involvement was solely for the required liability insurance associated with the use of the space. I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to clarify both my original and current intent. I also noticed that in discussion of my petition, only 2 of the 4 items originally requested were discussed and approved. Is there any reason why the other 2 items were not brought up to vote?
Well, I can tell you that I only know of one other one that was in the packet, had to do with the proclamation. And I asked Mr. Stevenson because Mr. Coughlin started to talk about the proclamation. I asked him if his motion included the proclamation, and he said no. So it was not made part of the motion. Anything else that was a part of that, I'm not aware of.
Well, as I mentioned, the 2 of the 4 items originally requested were not discussed and approved. I didn't know why there was not a reason why those 2 items were not brought forth for discussion or approval.
That's the email I sent to you earlier today, a question that Councilmember Brinker had asked about. There is a section where, whoever wrote the original application said the church may also hold small prayer vigil during this period, including sunrise on March 31st. The city council, when people make requests, it's for the use of a property in a way that would create liability for the city. So people asked to put up a tent in Hoberman Park for a festival. People asked to put tables, chairs, crosses, as an example, Christmas decorations, all those things produce a liability. But the parks are meant as a place for people to gather publicly. And so these are the same parks where someone may have a book club and they meet up in Jack Bailey Playground. They do not need council's permission for that. Children have regular birthday parties over in Hoberman Park. No permission is needed from council for that. People have family reunions in Hannah Park at the pavilions. No permission from council is needed for people to gather in its parks. That's the purpose of its parks. Perhaps at some of those functions, people pray before the family reunion dinners. Council doesn't approve whether or not people pray before an event or function in the park when people are publicly gathered, which they have a First Amendment right to do so.
Okay, thank you. I just want to know why that, I just want clarification on that, as to why that wasn't brought forward. Thank you.
Any other comments, but yes, ma'am. Your name and where you live.
I'm Rita O'Brien, 13 Quiggle Avenue, Castanea. The summer of 2022, there was a water break in my front yard. I just want to say first, Hunter Stover and Tony Stopper have been very nice to me. There's been no problems with that, but I'm requesting a professional landscaper to do my yard. The lamp post is like this again, after 2 or 3 times of them putting it back up. They needed to put new brick around my flower bed because they dug them up, half of them, and threw them away. But the ones they brought back don't match they only did like a half or a little more of them. They left the old ones. To me, that's a mess. The topsoil that they had brought had gravel in it, and after a few rainstorms, the grass didn't grow, and there's gravel all over my yard. And they planted grass. I asked to be there when they came over, but they came instead when I was at work, and they planted grass in my flower beds, which I tried to get out, but didn't do too good. And just to be kind of, I don't want to be sarcastic, but they told me that water runs uphill. And I didn't believe it. And there was a second water break in my yard, and that's when they told me water runs uphill. And they thought the person across the street's water line was leaking. And they dug that up, made a mess of that big stone ditch on the other side of my street. They never fixed that either, but that's not on my property. But I'm requesting a professional landscaper after almost 2 years of having a mess in my yard.
we'll look into it. It's the first time hearing from Ms. O'Brien since she attended meeting last year. So I haven't heard anything since then from her, but I believe I still have her contact information from when you emailed me last year. And so I'll get an email out to you.
Your name is?
My name is Gregory Wilson.
Oh,
I'm the city
okay.
manager.
No, I hadn't dealt with you before. And all winter I waited because I didn't think there was much you could do all winter. So that's why I'm here right now. But thank you.
Anyone else have something?
Gio Rentarsi here, I live at 99 Wood Street, Lock Haven. My wife and I purchased a brand new built in 2020. I have, done everything, first of all, I have to give Cindy Walker and their whole crew for help me be able to get my garage set up there to actually have my business there. The issue I have is the water that is, every rainstorm that comes down through my yard has, flooded my neighbor who has passed away, but my garage blocked most of it. I have, email here that I sent to, first of all, I dealt with, Mr. Stopper plenty of times verbally, on the phone, off and on, back and forth. So finally got to the point where I figured I was just getting smoke blown. Sent an email to, Mr. Wilson, and he, in about 15 minutes, had, Tony Stopper return the email to have a copy of and video of the water gushing into my yard. I've done a lot of property in Lock Haven, and all the property I've owned has always been nice. I've done several businesses here and the State College, and all I'm asking for is somebody has to stop the flooding, them coming into my yard and flooding it out. I have video of the city, this with, we call it with brush hog, pushing the stones out of my yard up the street. Instead of removing them, they would just put them back in the burn. And I really don't want to cause a big deal about this, but I like my stuff looking nice. And I don't care if it costs me another $1,000 a year in taxes. I want it to be done. So I have copies of the emails for both Mr. Wilson, who I've never met, and Tony Stopper, and I have plenty of video. I know you guys have a really big night in here, and I don't want to disturb that, but I didn't know there was gonna be like a lot of stuff going on here. I just got done with back surgery, so I can't really stand up a long time, but if anybody wants to see this, I'll pass it forward. If you'd like to see my video, I have it. And, I like my stuff looking nice, okay? I just really would love a little bit of help. If you saw the video, I'm sure most of you here know me, a lot of people will agree. It's not, it just needs to be taken care of. And I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the city, but the city streets are starting to look like North Philly everywhere, anywhere you go. So, if you want it, I'll give it to you. If you don't want it, we'll talk about it later. It's all up to you.
If you want to leave this stuff with us so we can look into it, appreciate it.
I don't know. We want to get, Mr. Wilson, I'm Gio McCarthy, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
That's our only email, and hope to talk to you soon. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, good evening. Anyone else? Okay. 4B, consideration to amend or rescind the adopted motion for 2624. How can we do that?
Under Robert's Rules of Order, when, as I provided to council, if a motion has been previously adopted and new information has come to light, council members can choose to, if they so desire, amend or rescind a previous action of council. And the rules for that are provided in the council packet. And I believe that council member Conklin has had a conversation with the Wallaces regarding their original request. And the original request was provided to members of council, which does show a variety of handwriting on that page, which is all in one handwriting, and then an additional section, as Mr. Stankiewicz said, which is added in a different handwriting. So that was provided to council earlier this week, or last week, that packet, original information that was submitted, from the Director of Community Life, as well as, I believe just one of the emails from Mr. Sandwich.
Josh,
And I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion right off the bat to amend, a motion that was made on February 26, 24, in light of the additional information, and separate the two items to remove, the American, or the Christian flag from that application. And we can address that separately if you'd like.
I'll second the motion.
motion on the floor and second. Further discussion?
Could we talk about the new resolution before we do that, or do we have to?
No, I think this is separate. This is what we've already acted on. And our solicitor is here tonight. Changing this at this point, does that put us in any jeopardy?
Well, I mean, I was asked to be here tonight and here I am. If council wishes me to give them advice on this, I would prefer to do that in an executive session, I think. In case there's any, factual questions or basic questions, they can be answered here in the public, but as far as the impact on the city, I prefer to do that in executive session if council wants to discuss any of that.
And would council like to talk about that before we do anything?
Yes.
Comment, Sue?
It's my belief that we are liable for what we accepted what was presented, whether it's two different handwritings or not. At the time it was presented to us, we accepted that and we voted to do it. And I think that we're liable, if we do not follow through by doing a bait and switch. So I don't mind talking about it in executive session, but, because of looking out for the city, I think I'm glad Mr. Hauser's here to clarify for us, although I see enough in writing to say that we should continue with how we already voted, let that pass and the next one pass, and then work on under unfinished business, a new resolution for a flagpole policy. We voted on the current policy. And once we voted on the current policy, you can't switch that right in the middle of the policy. You have to do away or change the policy. Sort of too late to bait and switch here. So I think we should just, if you want to talk about it, that's fine. And if you don't, then that's.
I've heard from at least one council member, and I think I would like to talk to the solicitor before we take any action further.
Okay.
Stay here. We'll make it as brief as we can. And, the most important thing, I think, for all of us is that we protect the city. And we want to make sure that we ask the man that we pay to keep us out of legal jeopardy, his opinion on some of this. So I have a motion on the floor and a second discussion. Anybody want to have anything to say about this?
Well, I need you to clear it up so you can read the motion back to me of how it is.
How do you have the motion?
My motion is to amend that application, dated. Well, approved on February 26, 2024. For the erection of the crosses on Triangle Park, and the flying of the Christian flag, specifically to be amended as separate votes.
And you seconded that
I
motion,
did,
and you want to keep that second?
I did.
Okay. All right, discussion.
As you're amending it, I don't think fixes what problem we may have. So if you wanna vote on that, I don't know if I can support splitting the two.
I think it's important to note, to clarify that there were several things, as Mr. Stankiewicz pointed out, at least three things that we saw. And we did not, in that vote, recognize Faith Month. Mr. Conklin asked questions about the proclamation. I asked Mr. Stevenson if that was part of his motion, was to put that proclamation. He said, no. We had approved the use of the park for the crosses and the flying of the Christian flag during the month of April. So that we're clear. Okay. We have a motion on the floor to separate that. And re-vote again, I guess, if it gets separated. Anyone else have any comments?
I just feel that that will not be conducive to the law that I read last time with Sutliff and Boston. I think we will have an issue with that.
We're asking for there to be two separate votes. That doesn't say that one is going to carry and one is not going to carry. We're just saying, let's have the vote for the use of the park be one thing and the flag be a separate vote. We're asking for both to be voted on. Not that one will not be voted on.
All right, so we're clear on the motion, correct?
So you're gonna indicate that you're gonna make a motion after this motion or after this vote?
I'm going to allow Mr. Stankiewicz to make his presentation for the flag. So it's not up to me to make the motion until it's back on the floor.
So you're accepting the original one for the crosses, is what you're
Right.
telling me.
Right. Well, I'm asking it to be amended for another vote, yes.
Okay, motion's on the floor. We've discussed it. Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander.
No.
Councilmember Brannan.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
No.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
No.
Mayor Long.
No. I don't see it changing what we're working on. Item 4C, Carter Charities request for the removal of a tree in Veterans Park.
His presentation last week, Dave Harder from Harder Charities mentioned that he had not included in his request, permission to remove the tree that's in Veterans Park to make way for the new installation. And so that comes back to full council because it was on last week's agenda.
I'll move the removal of the tree contingent upon authorization to by and review by the city of flood authority, levy authority.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor, a second. Any further discussion on that issue? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brandon.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 4D, use of the Holman Park for the Clinton County Housing Authority Easter egg hunt.
The Clinton County Housing Authority is requesting the use of Hoberman Park on March 29th, 2024 for their annual Easter egg hunt event. The park that they formerly had this event in, they are no longer able to use, so they're asking for use of Hoberman Park. And I'll work with them to make sure rules and regulations are followed and all of their necessary paperwork is turned in.
Do I have a motion?
You do.
Second.
And a second. For the discussion, questions, comments? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brandon.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 4F, consideration of resolution number 2024-07.
We have the resolution for the installation of a banner for LHU Homecoming, September 18th through September 30th, and I'll coordinate that with the fire department for the installation.
What's the wish of council?
So moved.
Motion on the floor, a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brandon.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yeah.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. We have any other requests?
I have none, Your Honor.
Thank you. Unfinished business. 5A, consideration of resolution number 2024-08.
At its regular meeting on March 4th, council directed me to engage the city solicitor to review resolution number 2023-14, establishing the precedence of second flags to be flown on the flagpole in Triangle Park. I provided to council by email on March 4th with the opinion of the city solicitor regarding that topic. In that correspondence, the solicitor points, who happens to be right here, points out that the government can express its own speech and can choose what to say and what not to say within certain limits. But when the government invites the public to participate in a program, it is not as clear whether this is government speech over which the government has more discretion or private speech over which the government has less discretion. As stated by the solicitor, there are two ways to improve the existing resolution to avoid future conflicts. Number one, the city should enact a resolution that spells out exactly which topics, themes, flags, etc., that it will accept from the public for inclusion on the flagpole in Triangle Park and which ones it will not. This could turn into a significant task, as the list of what is and is not permissible itself for public speech is something, again, over which the government has little control. Number two, council can simply fly a list of stated flags. This is not only an easier remedy to implement, but also one that ensures that any secondary flag is understood to be government speech over which it can exercise additional discretion. The resolution on the agenda for council's consideration was drafted by the city solicitor and to implement section 2 above, in that it establishes the flags on the pole in Triangle Park constitute the speech of the local government and is not a forum for speech of private individuals. The resolution can be amended at any regular meeting of council to accommodate changes, whether permanent or temporary, in adding, replacing, or removing any flag. As an example, in passing the annual resolution for EMS week, if council added a line to that proclamation that the flag of EMS of Lock Haven would be flown that week in Triangle Park, it could easily do so. In this way, council does not give up its ability to express its own speech to celebrate, commemorate, or honor those topics to which it chooses to speak. And that amended resolution as 2024-08 has been provided to council for its consideration.
Question. Should or could we include all flagpoles in the city or not just Triangle Park? Should that be a matter of discussion?
You could, just by
Because
changing
it always
triangle
mentions
to
Triangle Park,
city parks.
any flagpole is city owned.
Yeah.
I move the resolution as it's written.
Second.
Sir,
You asked if we hold public comment for
Yeah.
when it was.
please state your name and your address, please.
Sure, my name is Dave Winkleman. I live in Avis. I'm a taxpayer here in Lafayette. I own multiple buildings in the city limits. Would you please provide the list of what flags you're approving?
Well, if this were to pass,
Yes,
currently, during January, it would be the POWMIA flag. During February, it would be the Pan-African flag for Black History Month. During March, it would be Women's History Month flag. During April, we go back to the POWMIA flag. During May, it would be the Gold Star Service flag. During June, it would be the Pride flag. During July, it would be go back to the POWMIA flag. During August, it would be the Commonwealth University flag. During September, it would be the POWMIA flag. October would be the POWMIA flag. November would be the Lenape Eastern Delaware flag. And December would go back to POWMIA flag. That's if this resolution passes as it stands.
so my comments, I guess, in regards to that would be, I would say that the Boston case that Mr. Brinker read at the previous meeting, it is my opinion as a taxpayer, that the moment you open these doors to any group outside of government, you should open it to every group outside of government. And by picking and choosing whose flag you allow, you are suppressing the First Amendment rights of the people, even in the taxpayers. I would expect you will have lawsuits should you pick and choose which groups, privileged or not, can fly their flag, whether you put it up or not. It certainly seems like a very easy slam dunk case for discrimination. And as a taxpayer of the city, I'd hate to see my tax dollars going like that.
Thank you. Hey, yes, ma'am. Please state your name and where you live.
Council and fellow citizens, my name is Betty Brendel and I live in Woodland Heights. I'm a long-term resident of the area. And tonight, my friend Karen Elias wanted to speak tonight, but because she has an impaired voice, she's asked me to read this statement on her behalf. 2 weeks ago, at the last council meeting, the court case Shurtleff versus the city of Boston was raised to suggest that council could be held legally liable if it were seen to be denying the free speech rights of a local church. Since that time, we have all read the letter that appeared in the Express on Tuesday, March 12th, from the Reverend Bruce Wallace, in which he offers an important clarification regarding the flying of a Christian flag in Triangle Park. In his letter, Reverend Wallace states that the pastoral leader of the Swissdale United Methodist Church, wanting to be a positive force for good in the community, refused to partner in the flag request. The letter goes on to say, subsequently, when Mr. Stankiewicz delivered the written request for the crosses to the city office, he added the flag request to the same request form without the pastoral leader's knowledge or consent. The flag request has clearly been revealed as deceptive and misleading. On these grounds alone, it seems obvious that council, if it honored the request, would be doing so not in harmony with the wishes of the Swissdale Church, but in decided opposition to those wishes. I can't second guess the will of council, but a ruling to disallow the flying of any but the American flag in Triangle Park in order to keep the peace would, I believe, be a mistake. Such a decision would sacrifice the federally designated heritage flags that currently are allowed. Flags for Black and Women's History Month, for example, as well as the flag honoring Pride Month in June, due to a misguided belief that these flags are the equivalent of the Christian emblem of a group defined as a, quote, socially conservative evangelical Christian nonprofit Women's Legislative Action Committee, unquote, that admits to an anti-LGBTQ agenda. These matters are not easy. I applaud the council for reviewing its flag policy and humbly recommend that we navigate these waters carefully rather than jumping hastily into a decision that might send us sadly back to a less tolerant time. The Shurtleff case, interestingly, gives us a way forward. In its commentary, the court, quote, advised that Boston was free to change its policies to make clear that it wished to speak for itself by raising flags. Tellingly, the court cited approvingly the flag policy adopted by San Jose, California. The court liked that the San Jose policy includes language stating that San Jose's flagpoles are not intended to serve as a forum for free expression by the public, and limited its approval of flags flown to those that constitute an expression of the city's official sentiments. The court's quasi-endorsement of San Jose's policy strongly suggests that the local flag policies with these features would qualify as government speech, allowing a city to permit or reject flying of a flag consistent with the policies. This was referenced through the United States Supreme Court issues 2 decisions impacting local sign regulations and flag policies, bbklaw.com. Working through these issues would mean, I believe, determining what constitutes an expression of the city's official sentiments. Perhaps such mission statements have already been written. Perhaps they need to be rewritten or revised. Formulating such a statement could be an exercise in clarification as well as a guide to the way our community wishes to speak for itself by raising flags. The challenges that have been raised by this recent controversy need to be seen as an opportunity. I hope we will take it. Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Anyone else?
I have a procedural question.
Go ahead.
I'm Emily, South Fairview Street. So as this resolution stands, in April, there is no Christian flag that's been replaced.
If we vote on this, that whatever we've approved already is going forward, because it was approved under the prior policy.
So that would change.
If the policy changes, it was still approved under the prior policy, so we would stick with that. At this point, it would be things going forward from here that would change.
Okay. Okay, and then also, this is specific to flags at Triangle Park.
Steve just asked that a couple minutes ago, whether we could make the resolution to be for all the parks. And I don't know if that was included in Barb's motion or not, or she just meant it to be for Triangle Park.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I have some confusion there. So the pride flag is gonna be painted on 2 city-owned streets in addition to flown at Triangle Park.
That was
Just to
approved.
clarify. And then, depending on how this resolution moving forward for April.
No.
I think you need to clarify, the Christian flag is flying in April.
Yes, it's been approved, it was approved
It's
under the
approved?
prior.
It will say this, okay, every year.
It would be, so if you're looking at it, you'd be looking at next year or another request. Those requests were already, no matter what we decide with this resolution. But however it turns out in the end, the things that were already approved, Christian flag for April, the pride flag for, June and on the streets and so on, we've already approved those under the prior policy. They are happening. Okay, this would be for any requests that come in going forward. That's council's understanding, correct?
Yeah. Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Missouri, would you, be amenable to accept, a recommendation of eliminating all second flags except for POW MIA?
I would be opposed to that vehemently. I believe that for council to consider giving up the opportunity for council to speak would be a big mistake. We have a lot of people here that feel very strongly both ways. And I respect and appreciate that. I think that's the easy solution, and I think that's the coward's way out. We have an opportunity here to say we have discourse, we disagree, we don't all like what each other has to say, but we absolutely have an obligation to listen to each other and to hear each other.
We did.
Make no mistake that this has been an argument that has been brewing on council since last year. The idea of this came up because we don't like one thing or we don't like another thing. We as a community have to learn to listen to one another. We as a country have to learn to listen to one another. And people that take a hardline political stance against one thing or another are doing so to step us backwards. We are an open and welcoming community. The opportunity for council to express itself through the flag gives us a chance to say to others, we welcome you here. We see you here. We want you to be here. Our community is better because we welcome everyone. We're flying the Christian flag. We're grateful for that. We're flying the pride flag. We're grateful for that. Everyone belongs here. It costs us nothing to share our community with one another. It will be council speech, and it isn't going to be public speech. And that is how I see it, and I stand by the resolution as it's written.
Yet the resolution excludes the Christian flag.
It does not exclude any flags. It says council is speaking, and this is our speech. It's not excluding anybody's speech.
Councilman Brinker is a Christian.
But that is not what this is saying.
This
This
is
is-
saying it's
hold on.
council speech.
Hold on, this is what it's saying. We have 6 flags that we have chosen.
Yep.
To promote over everybody else's issues.
That are federally recognized.
Heritage Month flags.
Hold on, time out.
Excuse me,
But
he has the floor. Please do not interrupt him.
we're still saying these are 6 flags out of 12 months that we are going to recognize. The Commonwealth is not a federally recognized, it's a state recognized. So we are already now picking and choosing what we are going to tell you that is the flags that we are flying over our city, whether it's gonna be just at Triangle Park or at all the parks now. These are our colors. And we're gonna be proud of all of these colors, just these 6. Not the ones that you feel. And I've talked about this before. Why aren't we flying the police? Honoring our police, our firefighters, breast cancer awareness. I can come up with a dozen. You can come up with a dozen. But we have decided if we stay with this, these are our 6. And we're not gonna change them. That's where we're at.
That's not what it says. It says that we may amend this list by further resolution as we deem appropriate. So we can change these flags if we so choose.
You may, you can, but will you? Is really.
Please stay in order. If you have something, raise your hand and I'll recognize
I
you.
apologize. Emily, you're right. You can or you may, but the question is, will that happen? You can't answer that.
Procedural question. If this is, motion is denied, would we be able to make another motion right away with amendments to that motion? Or not amending her motion, but having a second, if this one
Make a
fails?
resolution and put it forward.
Yes. So I'm asking
If you're doing, instead of adopting this, which is what was advertised, you mean? Like, can you,
well, I would, in number 2, it says shall, I think it should say may, since it's our option to fly it or not fly it, second flag. And my motion would be to accept no more requests for a second flag, only fly the American flag and, fly the POW-MIA. And that would be it. So I don't agree with the motion. I say just cut it off and cut all this out and fly 2 flags.
So
That's it.
what he's asking is if this gets voted down, can we re-present it with that tonight?
Hold on just a second.
you advertise the resolution? It's a resolution, so it's in the agenda. It's in the agenda. And it was then on the press. It's not an ordinance, but right, yeah, it's a little. Yeah. If you want to, substantially change the format. From what They will provide it. Yeah, if this. Should be back for the next one, but I've never. Well, we did that last.
Yeah, I tell you what, with it, I mean, I don't think you have to do that, but it would give them the time to look over any proposed, if they want to go a different direction. Short of wording, so then it's, I don't know that you have to do that, but maybe, you know, defer any final adoption. Although it's on another posting to the solicitor, gets a chance to review it, something like that.
A little bird said something that probably everyone could hear, which was.
I'm very quiet.
If this is not adopted, it probably would be in council's best interest to then just say, on the next one, put a resolution for whatever X would be.
Because we could accept that resolution, but now we have to because the motion was made.
We have to vote on it.
Yeah.
She's made the motion, she's
And
not
no-
changing.
and
it.
no
I
amendment.
respect that.
So if we bring it up again on the agenda next week, next meeting, would you already have it pre-written and we'd have to just vote on that?
Well, council would have to direct me what they want that new resolution to say.
Right.
The
Well,
majority of
so
council.
if it were to be voted down, then you could step up and say, I'd like another resolution saying
Right.
this.
But just to go back to last week, we didn't ask you to present us like this. We asked you to give us suggestions, not to come with a resolution. So we have a resolution before us. We didn't ask, we just asked what are our legal options, not a resolution. So whenever I got this on Friday, I was not expecting a resolution. I was expecting options, legal options, and then we would draft our resolution in front of the public because that's what we asked to be done.
You actually asked as the motion for me to come back from after speaking with the solicitor with something that buttons up the existing resolution to protect council. That's what's put before you. It was written by the solicitor. The exact words of the person making the motion were, if the solicitor says that the only thing that protects the city is for only the US, the state, and perhaps a local flag to fly, then that's what should be brought back. That isn't what the solicitor discussed. This is what the solicitor put together to protect city council from the threats of people bringing lawsuits. That's why it's in front of you. That was the motion that was presented.
Yeah, but I feel that I am being coerced into this resolution. This is, yes, it was the old resolution, but this is not what we discussed during that time. I'm telling you, we discussed that we're gonna come up with it. And I feel that we're being told this is our 6 flags, because this is exactly what happened the last time. There was a list. I brought up the issues and not one of my issues was brought up and it went with the list. So I feel that this is a wrong list, a wrong resolution, and we shouldn't even be voting on it. We should be discussing what it is right now.
We have a motion for, excuse me, before I go to you. There's a gentleman in the back. Please state your name, your address, please.
My name is Ernest, I live outside the city limits here. I'm on here on my own accord, but I did want to offer some information for the council. I'll just read it. Today, what constitutes an establishment of religion is often governed under the three-part test set forth by the United States Supreme Court in Lemon versus Kurtz. 409 US 602. Under the Lemon test, government can assist religion only if 1, primary purpose of the assistance is secular. 2, the assistance must neither promote nor inhibit religion. 3, there is no excessive entanglement between church and state. Just offering that.
Thank you.
Jonathan, you wanted something?
Yeah, just as a correction, Mr. Brinker, you are incorrect. We never said that we wanted to develop the resolution, and routinely in city government, the manager comes back to us with resolutions for all kinds of things at all kinds of times. So you are incorrect. You may have assumed that's what we were going to do, but that's not what the rest of us, or at least the folks that I've been in conversation with, that's not what we assumed.
I will say that I didn't expect to have just one resolution possibility put in front of me. I thought that we'd have some options, and that's maybe my misunderstanding. That's fine, but that's what I thought we were gonna be looking at. But we are where we are. We have a resolution in front of us. Frank, if you don't like it, you can vote no. Steve, one more thing.
I thought the same thing, except Councilman Missouri was so fast with her motion on the second, we didn't have a chance to interject, and she won't change anything, so let's go vote on it and see how it applies.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander.
No.
Councilmember Brandon.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
No.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
No,
Mayor Long.
No. You want to ask for what you said at the beginning?
yes, would you, work on a resolution, to accept no more requests to fly the second flag except the American flag and a POW MIA that we will discuss at our next meeting. And then tweak it, and I do see, should say may instead of shall, because shall means you have to do it. May is you can fly it if you have it, if you don't have it,
Well, the solicitor wrote,
Yeah.
and he's sitting right here. so-
yeah, so mark that down, Justin.
Yeah, I'll take whatever direction.
Hey, I
council
stayed
gives
at
me,
a
so-
Holiday Inn last night, so I don't want to.
Everything there is.
We still have a lot.
Yeah, right.
So I think I have some clarity. I'll get with the city manager and, if that's the will of council that we come up with something for consideration along those lines, then that's what we shall do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Or, if not maybe you shall do.
Alright, shall, that's a shall.
Yeah.
We have to vote
That
on
was the
that, or
motion.
just, do we vote on that, or just ask them to do it?
You have to vote on
I so
Make a motion?
Yeah.
it. I second.
I have a motion and a second. We need to discuss it further?
I hope not.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brandon.
No.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
No.
Councilmember Missouri.
No.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Okay. Justin, I don't think there's anything else on here that we, need you to stick around.
Block out for the.
If you'd like to
the
leave
benefit
now,
of the
you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You may want to announce that unless people are here because of the Taggart Park improvement.
Yeah, look, if you're not here for one of the rest of the things, you're welcome to go now, so you don't have to sit through all this. If you want to stay, you're welcome to. It's not often we get a nice big crowd like this, so. We'll wait a couple minutes if you want to exit it and move on.
Oh, we should argue fight about that. Doesn't matter, that. I think about it, that building with no plumbing. Yeah, because I'm gonna take that. We never have to have an argument again. Correct, we don't ever have to argue. Eliminate. Eliminate.
There's a green button on the wall. back-
Got it.
That's not, that isn't always a good thing.
There's a lot of other
Disagree.
things to work on.
Well.
I have, you're an island,
No.
I mean, that's, the rest of us
Okay.
dealt with it all week too.
So, moving on. 5B, award bid for Taggart Park improvements.
Oh, there's applicants.
Hi, Abby. How are you?
And on everything.
Hey, we're back in the meeting, so if you want to have a discussion, we want to be able to hear, okay, please. Thank you, go ahead.
We opened bid for the Taggart Park Improvement Project on March 14th at 2 p.m. The lowest bidder was Bowman Excavation Paving and Concrete in the amount of $402,000, $965.57. This was recommended by our engineers for document performance. And it's currently being reviewed by CEDACOG for labor standards compliance. Just as a reminder, this is a CDBG and DCNR funded project. It did come in higher than the grant funds we have allotted, but we have extra funds from the leftover from the East Baldwin Ray Street paving project that I can shift over to cover the overruns. So so you'll clear in the agenda, you'll do that. So we are good to go. I just asked that the contract be awarded contingent upon favorable review by CEDACOG, as that's a requirement for us.
Let's wish council.
I move approval.
I'm second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion, questions? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander. Yep. Councilmember Brandon.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yep.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 5C, 2020 CDBG budget revision.
So in order to complete the staggered inclusion projects, we need to move CDBG funding between another project into Tiger Park. So the attached resolution outlines the revision process that moves $98,103.19 from the East Bald Eagle Street and Race Street paving project to the Tiger Park improvement project. That will result in a revised budget of $273,103.19. Again, that will be added to the 175 of DCNR. To cover the project, that total amount of grant funds will be $448,103.19, which is a bit higher than the bid price, but we're going to do some field grading that will be counted as force account, so we can charge that to the grant and pay for our gas. So that's the comment to that over.
Do you have a motion?
I move the resolution with this be numbered 2024-08 now instead of 21.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further questions or comments? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brandon.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 5D, notice of allocation.
This is the first amount of grant funds awarded for the Lockhaven Police Building. We were fortunate enough to be on the Senator Casey's appropriations allocations, and with the passing of the federal budget, that has been awarded to us. We haven't yet to have final costing or anything, but we are very excited for it, since it being in your packet. This is, again, the first portion of the Lockhaven Police Building project, estimated to cost 2.6 most recently. I update the estimate every time I submit an application. So we keep that current. Another 1 million is pending from the local share account program that was submitted this past fall, and award is pending this week. And then we're also planning to submit another application in April for about 2 million. So we can totally get this building covered by grant funds. It's an important project, and we also know the city budget is strained, so we're trying to find ways to get it covered. So I just want to share the good news.
5E, notice of award of PA Arts Cultivation Grant Program.
I just want to go back to the previous, if I could for a minute, Your Honor. A lot of times you hear Congress fighting and think that doesn't affect your life personally. But a week ago Friday, when the Senate passed the Consolidated Appropriations Act, that had an impact here locally for the value of $1 million. So, you know, letting, the federal government kind of do its job and pass those budgets has a direct impact sometimes on our local community, so that's great.
5E, notice of award for PA Arts Cultivation Grant Program.
Another award came at the beginning of March for $15,275 from the PA Council on the Arts, the Cultivation Grant Program, for the creation of the Active Arts Corridor. This was a project developed with city staff, downtown Lock Haven, and the Clinton County Arts Council as a way to bring bike lanes and art to downtown. Ideally, it will connect to the Valdigo Valley Trail on Hannah Street and bring and come downtown through Burns Alley and out to the Commonwealth University Lock Haven campus. We are continuing to develop that. I know 15,000 won't get us far, but the good news with this program is it gets us in the running for future funding. We don't have to apply again, we just have to prove we're spending the funds on what we say we are, so gets our foot in the door.
So are you putting it together like we did the streetscapes, like one block at a time, and then the next year we do another? So you'll do 1 or 2 buildings and then do another couple. So it might take us a couple years, but it'll look great when you get done with it.
Yeah, and part of this will be a community engagement process of we'll figure out phases, what everyone wants on the murals and paint them and everything like that, so the community will be involved.
Anything else? Thank you. 5D, consideration of entering into an agreement, PP&L for the installation of permanent 3-phase power to supplement the water wells.
As was discussed at some of the combined meetings of Suburban, the Filtration Authority, and the city for permanent electrification at the supplemental water wells, 3-phase power needs to be extended as part of the permanent project. PP&L has come back with its cost for that, which is $356,980, which would initially be paid for out of the city's 2022 C borrowings that it did for the financing of the well project. Eventually, that will all be part of the Penvest reconsolidation of that debt.
So wish council.
I'll move the agreement.
Second.
I have a motion floor and a second. Any further questions? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander. Yeah. Councilmember Brannan. Yeah. Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Do we have any other unfinished business?
I had none, Your Honor.
Okay. New business. 6A, consideration of submission of letter of commitment for the Walk Works Grant Program. Welcome
This-
back.
This capitalizes on the Active Arts Corridor, with bringing different modes of transportation, to the city. We want to make sure we're doing it right and safely. So, we're submitting, on approval, we'll submit an application to Walk Works for the creation of an active transportation plan. This not only identifies safe corridors where we'll be connecting to the Valdigo Valley Trail, but also identifies points of conflict or areas in the city that may be unsafe and that we could address in simple ways by painting on the roads or slowing traffic down or anything of that nature. So the request will be made for about $20,000 to be used in the creation of a active transportation plan. This will also include a lot of community engagement, just like our comprehensive plan did. A match of $10,000 is required, and I have had conversations with the county to contribute to the project because it can be used as their planning effort as they expand the Valdigo Valley Trail.
Got a motion?
I move the application.
I'll second it.
Motion on the floor and a second. Any further questions? Steve, go ahead.
We're not, when they come out with what their plan is, we're not tied to having to do everything on that. We can pick a priority and work on it, but
Yeah, it would
we're
be.
not
just
committed
like-
to whatever their plan says, planning wise, that we have to do.
Right,
Right.
I'm a planner, Steve.
I know.
I would say it will be just like our comprehensive plan of, there will be priorities, of what will be implemented. It won't be set in stone, but we will have to, commit to implementing it as it's a community-led plan and community-led goals. I think that carries a lot of weight, but to that end, no one's going to, take away from us or take money away, take our funding away if we don't implement them, although I strongly advise it.
Well, I was just thinking further down the line, if they come up with something that's gonna cost us $100,000. And we're gonna say,
Right.
so we should be able to pick and judge. I don't want committed to. I agree with the plan, I'm gonna support it, but I just was wanted a little clarification,
Yeah.
not be tied in.
Any other questions?
No, thanks.
Call for the vote?
Councilmember Alexander. Yes. Councilmember Brannan. Yes. Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 6B, consideration of setting April 1st to hear the request of Sons of Italy for exemption of the noise ordinance for New Year's Eve.
I received in the mail a printout of an email. But it's from the Lock Haven Sons and Daughters of Italy Lodge requesting a waiver to the provision of the city's noise ordinance on New Year's Eve from 9 o'clock on the 31st to 1 o'clock in the morning on the 1st. After discussion over the Old Corner, council had made the suggestion of major things like this were going to happen, that it be announced at one council meeting. So I'm asking if council would set the date to hear this request for the next meeting of council, which would be April 1st.
I wonder where that came from. Yeah, so
Have a motion? Do I have a second?
You did.
Have a second here, okay. Any other questions about it? So you'll know we're talking about this the next meeting. Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brannan.
Yeah.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 6C, consideration of an appointment of WWTP operator Ian Bailey.
So the city has a state certified safety committee. And right now we're looking at just changing two different employee structure, swapping out the current superintendent of sewer, Dave Sorgan, and inserting instead the wastewater treatment plant operator Ian Bailey. And also inserting semi-skilled laborer Justin Ribka in place of property foreman Jared Guest. With council's approval.
Do I have a motion to that?
I'll move.
Motion? And a second. Any other questions, comments? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brannan.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 6D, notification under section 380-42.
The city code, excuse me, currently restricts parking on First Street on both sides for 2.25 hours maximum if it is metered parking from West Church to Belpont Avenue. After a study in 2019, it was determined at the request of a local organization there that that be studied, and at the time, there was not significant use of that parking area. Since that time period, of the 16 spaces, you can see on the list provided to council, typically of those 16 metered spaces, nearly all are occupied throughout the day. So the ordinance still permits those meters to be installed and operated. And so this is just notification that they will be put back on First Street for that block.
Thank you. We have any other new business?
I had done, Your Honor.
We had the FY reports there. Oh, yeah, energy solar.
Yeah, the, PennDOT inspection was submitted to the Lock Haven Airport Subcommittee of Council. Also, in the last couple of weeks, Tangent Energy, which is who council has agreed to explore a solar project with down at the Airport Industrial Park, has filed an interconnection application with PPNL and currently is awaiting approval of that permit. Meanwhile, Tangent Energy has contracted with HAS Incorporated to perform a geotechnical study of the location proposed for the solar development on the property at the industrial park on March 24th and 25th. Then on March 27th and 28th, Keller Engineering will be performing field work at that site. So if you do see some people down around that area, nothing to be suspicious of, they're just doing some exploratory work with that solar project.
Did we ever get a price on the
No, it has not come in yet. The solicitor and the contractor went back and forth for a while on the agreement, which has finally been signed and entered into. So I turn that over to Planner One, so I'll have to get with him and see when the appraisal is expected to be completed.
Okay. And we had to save the date for the Hogan Park.
It was all the talk at Pellrats was the Hoberman Park project.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people looking forward to it. So hopefully we have a lot of folks here in the audience tonight. Abby, what's our date? August 3rd.
August 3rd is the community build for playground at Hoberman Park. So you can come out and actually help build a playground, and then following it's built, we have a closing ceremony and a ribbon cutting, and it's a big celebration, so.
Great. Does anyone have anything else to bring before council this evening? Yes, sir.
I think it's time, for this. The last 3 last 3 years that I voted, for painting, the pride flag on city streets had nothing to do with pride. It has everything, listen, has nothing to do with pride, why I voted no. It has everything to do with freedom of speech, and to me, it's the same thing as the flag issue that we've had the last 3 weeks here. We have opened up the city streets as freedom of speech in the last 3 years, and that's what I've said the last 3 years. I just voted no this time. I didn't give a dissenting vote. Why? Because I've said it the last 2 times. If an organization wants to put a BLM, pro-life, crosses on our city streets, on those 4 streets, it's the same thing to me as the flag. The council has used the following measure to justify why we do what we do. I'm just reading from our agenda here this past 2 weeks ago. This falls under the following goals and strategies of Destination Lock Haven Comprehensive Plan. Enhancing outdoor parks, public spaces, and outdoor venues by reimagining public spaces and outdoor venues to reflect the interest, culture, and identity of the community. So I voted no, not because of a particular viewpoint of one way or another. I just voted no because I don't think our city streets should be public spaces for more freedom of speech. That's what the Triangle Park has been. That's why I voted no to last year about putting the second flag up there. It's a freedom of speech issue. I think we need to consider our strategy and our goals as a council at this time. Because I'm telling you, there are people out here in the community that have talked to me over the last 3 years, and they would like to see our streets not being used as a public space of freedom of speech. If we continue this path, I feel that we're gonna be in the same position as we were tonight and saying we're gonna have 2 flags. Because what's going to stop another organization, another person, another group from putting their freedom of speech right on our city streets? Nothing, because we have no measure. We just use the Destination Lock Haven Comprehensive Plan. That's our guidelines. And it's just what we feel of what we're allowing and what we're going to be disallowing in the future. I asked city manager how much we charge the LGB for painting the flags on the city
We
street.
have offered.
I'll give you a chance to respond if you want. Please don't interrupt.
And last year, they didn't pay a dime. You may agree with that, you may disagree with it. So if that's our standard, every group would have to be a yes, and the city would have to pay for the paint, the stencil, and the manpower, based on past precedent. I think it'd be in our best interest to could bring this up and eliminate what can be, what can't be, and just go nothing on the city streets.
Well, I understand where you're coming from, but you did vote no, so.
But I'm not voting on their proposition. I'm not trying to
Coming up
change,
with a different
I'm
policy.
not trying to change their flag for June. I'm saying going forward, just as we did tonight with the flag, the Christian flag, it would be in our best legal interest to do the exact same thing, because we can be in the same battle 2 weeks from now with crosses on our flag, anything that's going on our city streets, because we have to technically say yes. Because it's a freedom of speech issue.
I think you should have said going backwards, because Destination Lock Haven was a community-based participation plan based on members of the community. Members of the community means people that you agree with and people that you don't agree with. People whose views you think are wrong and people whose views you think are right. That's part of being a member of a community. Destination Lock Haven was developed by the community for the community. We're not always gonna agree. We're gonna disagree about things. We voted on something that we didn't agree on tonight, and we voted on something that we unanimously agreed on. That's part of being in a community. That's civil discourse. And we all owe it to one another to open the door to those things. You might not like it. We don't always get what we want. But communities that are thriving and that are successful, I mean, I don't know how frequently you go to State College where there's lots of people around and lots of people doing fun things. There's all kinds of speech going on there. I think there's room for all of us here. And I've talked to lots of people, and I've had lots of people on both sides calling me, emailing me, and I'm grateful for the input. I'm happy to hear what people have to say. And I'm happy to be proud to say we're a community that welcomes all viewpoints. My viewpoint, Dr. Brinker's viewpoint, Bree's viewpoint, Steve's viewpoint, we're all welcome here. That's how I feel about it. And I think that going forward, we need to be looking forward. Our Destination Lock Haven was developed by the community, not by us. Thank you.
Do you want to comment?
No, I will not engage with the homophobe. No.
I just wanted to give you the opportunity. Greg,
I just want to clarify, something that Councilmember Brinker said. It is correct that the city does not charge for the paint. That paint that we have in stock for Pennsylvania One calls, including the purple. The first year we did not have the purple. It subsequently was determined that when you have untreated water, you're supposed to use purple. And through Lenape Village, we have an enormous untreated water pipe. There is no stencil that we purchased. And so it really is just manpower. We already stocked the paint. But we do not charge, as a city downtown Lock Haven, council doesn't have a policy in place that we would, because we also don't charge places like downtown Lock Haven for obtaining, cutting, transporting, and installing the Christmas tree. So council doesn't have us bill downtown Lock Haven for that. Many events that take place in the city do require the aid and assistance of the city's personnel to make that happen. And council does not have a policy in place for that to be recouped by the city. We would have to apply that uniformly to every organization for that to be equitable. But if council wants to start a policy that we would charge like downtown Lockhaven and for the
I'm not to
tree.
belabor this because we're involved here, but my understanding was the first year we approved this, we were told that they were donating the money for it. And so I've assumed that that's been continuing on each year. So that's changed. I wasn't aware.
They donated the money the first year for the purple paint because we don't stock that color. And since then, we have stocked that color, so
And I
there are colors we
because
stock.
I was under the understanding that it was happening each year we did it. So my apologies that I wasn't clear on that. We debate lots of issues and we can debate, it wasn't on for tonight, so. Does anybody have anything else to bring before council this evening?
So I just need to put that on the agenda for next week.
Or you're asking to have on the agenda,
For
a
next
discussion on policy on painting on the streets, is that what you're asking for?
Correct.
Yes, that's on the agenda for next week, or next meeting,
April 1st.
April 1st. Okay. Does anyone have anything else? Yes, sir.
My name is John O'Donnell. I just wanted to say that in that rainbow, we're all in that rainbow. You're in that rainbow. You are in that. It's all of us. It's not. It's all of us. That's why it's so nice to have it on the streets. And to show that we are welcoming everybody. No matter their religion, no matter their sexual preference, no matter their height or not, whatever.
Mr. Hauser. I'm sorry, I forgot she was gonna say something.
Just quickly, I just think that it's important to highlight, I'm sorry, Emily Wright. I think it's important to highlight that, Mr. Brinker really, the focus on everything that he stated is about free speech, the free exercise clauses, you know, of the First Amendment. It's not about not welcoming anyone necessarily. But also, is council aware that remnants of the pride flag from last year are still on?
That was discussed when we approved it this year. It was made part of the motion that, once the 30 days was up, we would make sure that it was cleaned because it was approved for 30 days. So that was already discussed and yes, we were aware. Anything else?
No.
Mr. Hauser, you had something.
I just noticed something that is sad, but my office is over in Dunstown, so I like walking and I walk over there all the time. And of course, I used to work at Piper Aircraft when I first got out of high school. So I love Piper. But when I walk down there, there's no planes and it's not busy. There's nothing going on down there. And it's shocking. It's sad, but I don't know if council was aware of that. I hardly see a plane taking off anymore. I don't know what it is, but the city does own the airport, right?
Currently, yes. Anyone else have anything to bring before council this evening? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, there's somebody in the back? Yes, sir. Please state your name and where you live.
Yeah, Kurt Smith, I live in Wayne Township. I'd like to approach the council. You know, if anything goes on the Crosswalks, hater groups, people that are against America, perhaps obscene things, animal acts. You guys are gonna get stuck if you open the door and you let one in, you will not know what else. Now, I understand it wasn't a stencil, that's neither here nor there. But, watch out for what's inside Pandora's box.
Does anyone else have anything to bring before council? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.